And so we have differences as church members. We have differences as family members. We have differences as colleagues in the workplace. We have differences as partners in marriage or in relationships. And most times, it is these differences that cause divisions and slow us down. Differences like, which car are we going to ride to the occasion? Have caused problems between when some are looking for a car, they don't even have cars. Some people, their problem is, are we driving the red car or the blue car? Some people, are we going to wear Ashwebi or no Ashwebi? Sometimes, which Ashwebi are we going to choose? It is that difference that destroys people. Things that are supposed to make us progress are the things that tear us apart. Differences cause wars. Differences cause divorce. I'm sure you've heard when people get divorced, they will say, what's the reason? Irreconcilable differences. That's one of the big things. The word is so big. Me, I've not even been able to define it, because I don't even know what it means. Irreconcilable differences. It looks so classy, but it is basic things. I disagree with you, and we cannot come to a compromise. That is irreconcilable. These same differences have caused civil disobedience. They cause clashes. They cause religious crisis. They cause political crisis. Even fights in stadiums. So sometimes, even on a post, maybe a man of God said something, then somebody will come and say, "This is all these fake men of God." It's a difference. Then another person will come and say and abuse the person, waka, shake it, and everything has scattered. Just because people have differences of opinions and they've not been able to manage them. People lose their lives because of differences of opinions. People lose their money. People lose their homes. People lose their family. And so it's something that we really need to look at because it's crucial. But the question is this: are differences really the problem, or is it how we handle them? In Acts chapter 15, from verse 36 to 41, there was an issue between Paul and Barnabas, two great apostles. Just so that you know that differences is not only among people who are not born again. They happen even in church. Paul and Barnabas were people who were highly respected, great apostles, and they had a big disagreement. What was their disagreement? Barnabas wanted Mark to go with them, and Paul said, no. Okay, here you see it. Paul said, let's go back and visit our brethren in every city where we have preached the word of the Lord and see how they are doing. Let's see the next verse. 37. Okay, now Barnabas was determined to take with them John, called Mark. 38. But Paul insisted that they should not take with them the one who had departed from them in Pamphylia and had not gone with them to the work. Next verse. Then the contention became so sharp that they parted from one another. And so Barnabas took Mark and sailed to Cyprus. 40. But Paul chose Silas and departed, being commended by the brethren to the grace of God. So it so happened that Paul now chose Silas. And if Silas had known, he would not have followed Paul, because now so they go take and catch them. So, but this was the genesis of the problem. This one says, let's take this guy. And Paul says, no, this guy did not prove himself because he left us when we were somewhere. So we don't want to take. And they had a sharp disagreement. Now, this was supposed to be the work of God. But they had a sharp disagreement. Just to let you know that even in church, people will quarrel. Or even in church, people will disagree. They disagreed so much that they had to depart and say, okay, no, I'm not going with you again. I'm taking another person. And yes, the work continued, which was a good thing. But at some point, they had to part because of their disagreement. They separated, but the work did not stop. So that is the point. Don't let your differences cause the work to stop. Even in marriage, just say, okay, something happened, the clothes where I say, may you buy from me, but then you just scatter everything. I mean, people are like that. You cause the work to stop. You terminate the marriage. You terminate your life. You terminate your finances just because you disagree with somebody. It does not show maturity. Now, these guys, they saw things differently, Paul and Barnabas, at that point in their lives. But I want you to know that your mind can change with time and experiences. The reason why you are thinking the way you are thinking is because you have not been exposed to certain things. Have you ever heard people say, because of what I've experienced in life, I will never do so and so? Yes. Right now you are thinking the way you are. Some of you are probably saying, How can I'm giving an example. How can somebody use 50,000 naira to buy shoe? Has anybody thought like that? When souls are perishing, Shebi? But that is your reality. Somebody is using 500,000 naira to buy a pair of shoes, and it is not sin. So you're only exposed. When I was much younger and I didn't earn money, I was wondering how person could just use 500 naira buy recharge card. Do you understand? And I'm sure if you hear that somebody spends 30,000 naira on calls in a month, you feel it's a crime, they should hang him. But we are only exposed by our experiences and then time. Those are the things that change us and structure us. So it may not be wrong to that person because of where the person is at that stage in his life. And that is how it is in marriage or relationships. Now look at 2 Timothy chapter 4 verse 11. I want us to see that, very crucial. 2 Timothy 4:11. This is Apostle Paul, who is now writing. Many years later, he has gone to prison. He has experienced a lot of things. Now, 2 Timothy 4:11 says, only Luke is with me. Get Mark and bring him with you, for he is useful to me for ministry. This is the same Mark that they quarreled over years ago. Have you seen how his mind has changed? So that is why you must understand what is really important. Years down the line, your mind will change. Years down the line, what you are quarreling about will not matter. Years down the line, these things will be insignificant. So focus on what is important in your relationships. So this is the same Mark. This is the same Paul. But years down the line, Paul has a different view. Your view might change with time. So why sacrifice relationships because of that view? Why? Even in this country, we have seen people who belong to one political party and they abused people and abused the other people. And the next day, what happened? Their views changed. They moved on. We have seen people who were in a football club and did this and did that. And they moved on to another. Because things change. Things change. Experiences change. And sometimes you really have no explanation on how people change their minds. So our differences are not the problem. It is how we handle them. I need us to know that opposites attract. In a magnet, you have the positive charge and you have the negative charge. So the positive attracts the negative. And they don't fight against each other. They complement each other. So if you have a negative view and I have a positive view, it's not supposed to repel us. It's supposed to attract us. So if you are married, you need to take note of the following. So I'm going to bring something, or you are preparing to get married, or you can store it for future when you get married. Number one, if you're married, you will not always agree. You will not always agree. Maybe they told you that when you get married, you will agree. That even with submit to your husband and all that, the woman will just willingly submit. That the first day you just do yes or no. You will not always agree. It is not possible. How will somebody even always agree with you? Do you agree with God every time? The thing what they tell you to do, since don't do it. That is it. You will not always agree. I must realize that. Because people are different. People may want to know why you are doing or why you want them to do what you're saying they should do. You will not always. Even my children don't agree with me. When I say something, I say why. So I have to make them understand why. You will not always agree. Number two, your backgrounds are different. You need to understand that as well. In marriage, your backgrounds are different. You came from two different experiences, two different lives. One probably came from a family where they ate together, community eating in a tray. And maybe this other one came from a family where they eat on the dining table. Your backgrounds are different. One came from a family where, they spend money anyhow. Say, most spend on today. Now who they are alive, they see tomorrow. That kind of a thing. Now who they are alive, they see money tomorrow. And then they spend everything. And then tomorrow they are waiting, shining their eye. Then another person comes from a family where they are organized and they plan. Now when both of you get married, you are going to have issues until except you talk about it. You don't pretend. You need to address it. So, before people get married, these are things they should be talking about. It's not just licking ice cream and going everywhere, snapping pictures. No, there are more crucial issues. You need to talk about this thing because they are going to rear their heads in future. Number 3, your experiences are different. Your experiences are different. You must realize that. So people are not really bad. It's just what they have experienced. For instance, if people have always taken advantage of me, or maybe I've had several relationships and the women showed me pepper, it's just natural that the next woman that comes my way, I'm going to be very, very cautious with her. Because of my experiences. So you will say, this guy, he does not trust people. How will I trust people? Going by what I've gone through in life. Are you with me? So our experiences are different. So you need to understand people. You need to talk to them. You need to find out their background. Where are they coming from? So it will help you realize why they act the way they do. Number 4, you need to have a family vision or direction. Otherwise, your differences will sink you. It's just like Paul and Barnabas. There was a bigger vision to serve God, the ministry. So even though they had differences, it did not stop the work. They still continued. The same way, when you are married, you may have differences, but when you look at it that, hey, there is a higher purpose. God wants us to achieve something in the family. You are going to minimize all those differences. Issues like which cloth to wear or this thing, it will not bother you. Issues like how much to spend will not bother you. Issues like which school your children attend, those ones, are those things, the things that will sink a home? Because they are higher issues. They are bigger things you are setting your eyes on. Issues like which color will the wall be or which color will the chair be. Those ones have caused problems between couples. And they don't talk for 1 week. They don't talk for 1 month because of color of chair. So when you see that there is something bigger, you let some of these things go. They don't really matter. Number 5, marriage is not the end of the road. You are married for a purpose. So I need you to understand that marriage is not like the end of the road. It's not where it all ends. Some people are just, hey, God, if I just see husband married. For you, it's like you don't reach where they go. And that's why when you get there, you don't develop yourself anymore. You just sit down. You become a burning machine. You're just a born children. I don't born 1. I don't born 2. I don't born 3. Wait till remain. You understand? No vision, no purpose, no plan. Marriage is not the end of the road. Marriage is not automatically going to make you have sense if you didn't have sense before. Do you understand? That is how it is. So, I want you to know that you did not go to school. You did not go through all the things you went through in life. You did not pay, maybe if your in-laws taxed you when you wanted to marry your wife, you did not pay all that money. They did not stress you, all that stress that you went through, only for you to just get married. Is it an achievement? Yes, it is a good thing by the Lord, but that is not the end of the road. I need to understand that marriage is not a bus stop. It's just like an international airport that is supposed to take you to different places. But you need to understand how it works. Now, another thing that can cause issues in marriages or relationships is how things were done by your parents. So most people enter marriage with that mentality. You say, this is how my father used to do it, or this is how my mother does it. And you see, you need to understand that this is a different family, and you need to come with a different mentality. Both of you need to come together to agree to do things in a particular way. It cannot be the way your family was. Do you understand what I mean? Maybe in your house, your father used to wash all your clothes, and your mother, your mother used to wash all your clothes, and your father used to iron your clothes. Like, growing up, it was like that. My mom would wash everybody's clothes. My dad will iron all our clothes. I grew up like that. Now, you now get married, and you marry somebody who is probably rugged, as in the person grew up in the streets. In fact, no father, no mother. Not to talk of washing clothes. But they were even washing clothes, talk less of, So, you now get married, and you now expect that maybe automatically, because your father used to iron, your mother used to wash, you now expect the woman to start washing clothes, everybody's clothes. But she didn't grow up like that. So it may be a bit difficult, except you talk about it. It's going to cause issues. So you are coming and saying, this is how it was in my home. And she's coming and saying, oh boy, which home? I grew up for streets. What are you talking about? You need to come together to agree on what you really want. Okay, so these are things that are very, very important. Okay, and there's a question and answer session after this, by the way. So you may start writing your questions if you don't want to ask publicly. Okay, so personally, growing up or in marriage, I've also had the same. They are not really issues, but we have differences. Sometimes you see a couple and you think they are the same, but they are different. I have differences with my wife, but it's how you manage them that is important. For instance, I shared a story one time on social media about how she likes to throw away things. So anything that, like cartons, maybe you buy TV, you buy phone and all those things, she throws them away as in, this is junk, this is rubbish. But me, I grew up in a home where my mom used to keep nylon. We have plenty nylon. They'll keep the nylon to the point that at a point cockroaches will start entering the nylon. My mom kept nylons, Go and meet my mom now. She'll produce spoons of 1960, basins of 1960. Some of you cannot even produce last month's NEPA bill. But my mom can produce, those things, the sterilizing units that they used for me when I was a baby, she still has it. I have my results, my primary school results, my nursery school results, they are with my mother. I can produce them. I have my primary, what do they call it, first school living certificate. Some people don't even have it. It's now some people are going to look for it from their school. So I came from that background, but she likes to throw things away. Especially if they are useless. So that is a difference that can affect some people. Me, I keep papers because any small paper, you might just look at it, which kind of paper be this? No, this paper has 4 messages. You may not understand. You may just see small writings, but this paper has inspiration to write a book. You will not understand. So they don't throw my papers away. They know that one in the house, no matter how small it is. But those are differences that we're able to manage. Another thing is that she can arrange. She's more organized than me. I don't want to say I'm disorganized, but she's more organized. So she'll arrange, and then me, I will scatter. So sometimes she just come and me, Pastor Mark, I beg you, I don't arrange this place now. I will no scatter. And because I'm the loving husband, I will say no problem. And for like 2 days, I'm going to keep it arranged. And after 2 days, we are back. So I tell her, I say, see, opposites attract. If I scatter, you arrange. What are friends for? That is how it works. So many of you will have lots of examples, but you need to know that understanding, tolerance, and a common goal is what makes relationships succeed. Whether it is in your marriage, whether it is in the office, whether it is among people who are dating, or among even friends, or among church members. You have seen that it touches everybody. Even Paul and Barnabas, after praying, they still go quarrel. It's strange, but because we are human and we have preferences, and we can think and we can reason, we will most likely step on each other's toes every now and then. So when you have a supreme goal in marriage, then color of dress or shoe or which car to ride should not be an issue. You need to sit down together to define a higher goal. So what are the kind of goals you need to ask? When you are getting married, talk about it. Okay, which people should we help? Which ministry should we support? What social service should we render? What should we pray about? Those are things you should be talking about. Which children should we sponsor in school? So when you are thinking that, you don't fight for trivial reasons. Of course, we've read Philippians chapter 4 verse 2. It says, Euodia and Syntyche, they had issues. Paul said, Euodia and Syntyche, please stop disagreeing with each other. Be of one mind in the Lord. They had issues. These were church members. They were strong people for Paul to recognize them. They were key members in the church, key members in the ministry, maybe deaconesses, or maybe pastors. But they had issues. They quarreled. They can quarrel. Euodia comes from a word which means fair journey. Euodia, a word which means fair journey. And Syntyche comes from a word which can mean an accident. So, in a Bible commentary, somebody interpreted it this way and says, along our fair journey in life, we may collide with one another. But God always has grace for restoration. So Euodia means fair journey, Syntyche means accident. So sometimes you have a fair journey and then you collide. You have an accident. And it happens every now and then. We have accidents. We get upset with each other. Somebody says something, the other person misunderstands it, and then we quarrel, we get angry. But you're not supposed to let that anger fester. We are supposed to resolve our issues. So in your marriage, in church, in your relationships, we are going to have accidents, we are going to disagree, but we need to move forward. So in summary, there's a reality outside your reality. Did you get that? There's a reality outside. This is your life, the way it is. Because have you ever had a situation where you were trying to explain something to somebody and the person doesn't understand? The person is upset and you are wondering, why don't they get it? Maybe because you are exposed, and you've seen things. But somebody who has been in a particular locality will be even laughing at you. Say, see this bushman, how person going to do that kind of thing? And you're wondering. Your reality is different from another person's reality. And whatever people believe is actually shaped by their experiences. You can't grow beyond how you are. We don't see things as they are. We see things as we are. So if something happens right now, we are going to interpret it in different ways. Some of us might say, well, it doesn't matter, it's not important. But some people will say, why you go do them like that? Because our experiences are different. I would like to end with this story before we take questions. There's a poem called The Blind Man and the Elephant. Some of you may have read it, maybe in literature in school. It was written by a man called John Godfrey Sachs. He lived between 1816 and 1867. The Blind Man and the Elephant. Now, these men, they were blind men, they went to see the elephant. And so they wanted to know how the elephant looked like. Remember, they couldn't see, so they could only touch and experience. So they touched different parts of the elephant. And as they touched, they explained what they were seeing. So one touched the elephant by the ear. And he says, the elephant is like a fan. Another one touched the elephant by the tail. And he said the elephant is like a rope. Another one touched the trunk of the elephant. And he says the elephant is like a snake. Another one touched the leg or the knee of the elephant. He says the elephant is like a tree. Another one touched the side of the elephant. He says the elephant is like a wall. Then another one touched the ivory tusk of the elephant and says the elephant is like a spear. Were they right? But were they also wrong? Were they right? Were they wrong? Yes, they were right and wrong, right? They were right in the context that the experience they had was what they defined. But they were wrong in the context that what they saw was not all there was. So sometimes there's more to life than you see. So you can just come and argue and say, no, it is like this. But the world is bigger than that. So each of these blind men was convinced of what they had touched and experienced. They were all right, yet they were all wrong. Just like two men who stood before a letter 6. One was standing here and says, this is 6. The other one was standing by the other end and says, this is 9. They were both right. But it only depended on where they were standing in life. So life is bigger than how you see it. If we can manage that, we can manage differences, and by God's grace, we are going to have better homes. So I will stop here so we can take questions. Thank you.